All right, back here with our Formula One season review. If you're joining us on the Unhinged Sports Network, welcome. We're glad you're here. And if you're joining us on your regular podcast platform, thank you as well for the support and the continued support of In the Marbles. But it's time, as it's not Bruce Buffer, it's Bruce Buffer. It's time, as he would say.
It's time
to break down the Formula One 2020 season. And again, I said it before, been looking forward to this for a minute here. And it's going to be the same thing as we did with our NASCAR season review. Memorability, unpredictability, excitement, competitiveness, and intensity. All broken down into that with a final tally at the end. And I'm going to leave it up to you, Preston. Do you want me to go first, or do you want to go first?
I think you should go first.
All right. I've been looking forward to this for a while. I got my notepad here. All right. As we all know, 2020 has been a weird season for everybody in all forms of sports. We discussed that on our NASCAR year in review, that 2020 is a season and a year that we soon hope to forget. Formula One season was going to start in Australia, was delayed due to COVID. I mean, they were getting ready to do free practice one.
That's right.
They shut everything down. Everything in Australia is shut down. This 2020 season only took place on the European continent and Asia, the Asian continent. So 2 continents vice the, 5 that we normally go to in Formula One?
Yeah.
The first race happened, that was in March. The first race happened in July in Austria. The race went from a 22 scheduled event for Grand Prix to 17 races. Only 17 races, a lot of them back-to-back. Bahrain.
Yeah, we had 2. Well, Bahrain was technically
Silverstone.
2 different layouts, but still.
It was still Bahrain.
Austria was another one,
Austria
too.
was another one. A lot of back-to-back ones. The first Grand Prix to be canceled due to COVID and the schedule change was the Chinese Grand Prix, which we all kind of saw coming. But then it was like a snowball effect. Australia delayed. Vietnam canceled.
Yep.
Netherlands canceled. All these big tracks we were looking forward to. America, Canada, Brazil, canceled, postponed, which usually meant canceled. At the same time, Italy, who got hit really hard at the start of this pandemic, Ferrari withdrew entirely from Formula One competition and said, we're not racing. We're glad to see that didn't manifest into anything crazy.
No, yeah.
Yep, this is
I'm
happening.
laughing because you have like this big notebook of all this stuff.
Ferrari's struggle was real in 2020. 6th in the Constructors' Series Championship.
They did not do very well at all.
Their engine in a Haas finished 9th in the Constructors' Championship. Haas was a good team in 2019. They were looking to maybe make a run at that Constructors' Championship. Nope. That didn't happen. Lewis Hamilton, average finish of 2nd.
Yep.
And he missed 1 race. Raced in 16 and 17 total Grand Prix. Average finish is 2nd. No wonder he's a 7-time champion. Claimed his 7th championship with 3 races to go, as well as locked up the Constructors' Championship. 5 winners in 2020. Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen, Valtteri Bottas, Sergio Perez, and Pierre Gasly. 2 first-time winners, Pierre Gasly and Sergio Perez. But with that being said, overall memorability for me for the 2020 Formula One season, I'm going to give it a 5. It's very memorable, but at the same time, it's one I want to soon forget. And now I turn it to you, buddy. Formula One 2020 for season review, memorability.
Memorability, I would give it... I'd go 7, honestly. I mean, yeah, there were a lot of races, like we said. Yeah, there were a lot of races, with Lewis Hamilton winning, Mercedes dominating, which is kind of like the status quo has been in years past.
Yeah, that's exactly what I've been thinking.
I understand. So with me being this, kind of being like my real first time season, really getting into it, I would say memorability 7. I mean, like I said, I'm good. I'm glad that they, like NASCAR, they were able to get some kind of a season in.
Right.
Not a completely full season, only 17 races. And yeah, we went back to back, but I mean, it's cool to like the outer loop at Bahrain. That was cool.
That was really cool.
That was, I don't care, aside from Sergio Perez winning, that was really cool to see.
Yeah,
that track
was.
I hope that they think of bringing that back at some point because that was really cool to see. So
That was.
But, I mean, yeah, with Lewis Hamilton winning the status quo, Max Verstappen, yeah, but, I mean, it was cool to see Sergio Perez win. It was definitely cool to see Pierre Gasly win as well. Just goes to show you that, I mean, it happens. The drama unfolds. But, yeah, so I'd give it
only if something happens to Lewis Hamilton, whether he's not participating in the race.
Yeah.
Or a penalty happens like what did in Italy where he entered a closed pit during a red flag.
Yeah, I was still... I mean, to this day, I'm
only
still...
if something hampers Hamilton,
yeah,
is it going to be a fun race, or is it going to be someone else winning?
This goes back to the little debate we had last week about is it the car or is it the driver? And clearly,
it's the car.
It looks like the car
because
for the most part.
At Abu Dhabi, Hamilton won that, or no, in fact, Max Verstappen won that race.
Yeah.
Hamilton finished second.
No, he third.
He's third. I apologize. Finished third. George Russell
was
nowhere to be seen.
Yeah.
And he ran just as good in that Mercedes as Hamilton did.
And
then on top of that, Mercedes had a stacked pit stop and executed it flawlessly at Abu Dhabi. Now, why answer me that? Why do it well there with Lewis Hamilton in the car, but when George Russell's in the car, everything goes kaput?
Well, I think because it was just one of those... Last week, it was just one of those fly-at-the-moment things. Like I said, I mean, they were literally coming around that last turn, and they were just like, oh, we should do a stacked pit stop, and they're there already. I think this past time, they already knew that they were going to do it, so everything was fine. But, I mean, I think last week, it was just one of those spur-of-the-moment things, and it was just, they were all just at a loss of what was going on. So
I still think Mercedes kind of didn't want George Russell showing up.
I don't know.
George Russell didn't want... Mercedes didn't want George Russell showing that Lewis Hamilton, anybody could do the job just like Hamilton. I think it's a conspiracy.
I think there's a big rumor out there that Bottas might not be coming back even though he's got a contract next year. It sounds like they might try and do a little bit of a Sergio Perez kind of thing.
It doesn't matter. They could put me in the car. We've talked about this. They could put me in the car and I'll be competitive. I'm just saying. They could put anybody in the car. Keep Bottas. I like Bottas. Okay, so... We're getting off topic here. Memorability a 7 for you. Memorability a 5 for me. Unpredictability. You want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first on this one. I mean, this one's a pretty short and simple one. Unpredictability would probably be like a 3 because 3/4 of the season we all knew what was going down. You get through all 3 practice sessions and qualifying, you know what's going to go down. If Mercedes is up front after qualifying, it's pretty safe to say that Mercedes is going to be up front for a good bit of the race, unless Max Verstappen is there to mess up their parade, I guess you could say.
True.
So I would say a 3. I mean, it was like you said before, status quo kind of thing, you know?
We
know.
All right.
So, oh man, I can see you getting prepared over here.
I'm ready for this. Lewis Hamilton finished no worse than 7th this year. No worse than 7th. Didn't participate in the run race at Abu Dhabi. We're not even going to count, or not Abu Dhabi, Bahrain, but I'm not even going to count that as, he finished no worse than 7th in the races that he participated in.
Mm-hmm.
Bottas retired in one race and finished no lower than 14th, only in one race. Mercedes won their 7th Constructors' Championship. Hamilton won his 7th World Drivers' Championship. Locked it up with 3 races ago, as I said, in Turkey. Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes were on a rail. Nobody could stop them. The only one who could compete with them was Red Bull, but even then, if it was a lockout, or even if one of the Mercedes was out front, game over, first lap, done. It wasn't unpredictable at all. Only when Lewis Hamilton had the penalty and he didn't make the race because of COVID. That's the only unpredictable part. And if that's going to be the only unpredictable part, that a Mercedes driver doesn't make the field, or has something that hinders him in the field, or anybody for that matter, to me, that's not racing. It's slot car racing. Put them on a rail, go. Very minimal passing.
And that's why when it comes down to Formula One, your qualifying position is the most important thing that there is.
Well, yeah, and we saw it in Italy where Pierre Gasly was out front and nobody could catch him. I don't care if you have Mercedes power to you. Nobody's out front. Those cars are designed to be in clean air, no turbulent air around them whatsoever. Mercedes has the winning formula all the time. Unpredictability for me for the 2020 Formula One season, 2. And you're lucky to get that Formula One. You are very lucky to get that. Now we go to excitement. Now, excitement for me, especially in racing, is the end of the 2018 Bank of America Roval 500. 400. Bank of America Roval 400. Where Jimmy Johnson and Martin Truex Jr. coming down to the final lap. Jimmy Johnson locks up, spins out, takes out Martin Truex Jr.
Yep.
And the third place driver, in this case Ryan Blaney, comes up and wins.
That was an exciting finish.
That was a very exciting finish. The 2020 Daytona 500. Ryan Newman blocking. Again, Ryan Blaney trying to make a pass. And Hamlin barely beating him to the line to secure his second Daytona 500 in a row. Very exciting. Bristol Night Race 2020. Kevin Harvick. Notice I'm using a bunch of NASCAR stuff here.
Yeah.
Because I can't think of one exciting Formula One race where Kyle Busch was going to challenge for the lead. Couldn't quite catch Harvick. Harvick won. Exciting finish. The most exciting part about Formula One is maybe the first 3 laps after the initial start of the race, after the initial lights out. After that, whoever is out front is impossible to catch or pass unless something happens on a pit stop, which rarely happens because everything's so blah, blah, so mechanic. It's just boring. Even the pit stops are boring that you can't catch. And the best racing is for maybe 12th. You've said on many episodes that, wow, there was racing all through the field. They're racing for 9th like it's a win. That's boring for me.
It comes, I mean, I guess it comes down to that.
When Lewis Hamilton is 50 seconds ahead, is it a race? I say no. I'd say it's just a way to burn fuel, waste tires, waste money on logistics, when a video game set on easy can make Lewis Hamilton feel as good as he does when he races Formula One.
Well, it's a good thing that they race the amount of laps that they do, and it's not like a NASCAR race, because, man, that would be really super boring if that was the case.
Wow. Well, no, we're comparing apples and oranges here, and I'm guilty of that. You're right. For the most part, 3 to 4 drivers were contenders in the 2020 season. Lewis Hamilton, Valtteri Bottas, Max Verstappen, maybe a McLaren, or maybe Racing Point.
Yeah, Sergio Perez was up in 4th for a little bit, but I mean, there wasn't the difference between 3rd and 4th was a lot, anyways. So,
in my opinion, in this race analysis opinion, the NASCAR guy in Formula in the marbles, I get that. There was no excitement in the 2020 season. Overall excitement for the 2020 Formula One season, 2.
Oh, okay.
Again, you're lucky to get that Formula One. Preston, excitement. Go ahead. Change my mind.
I'll give excitement of 4. I mean, I guess I see it differently. I mean, we all have different opinions. So that's that. That's what makes us human. We're all different. My opinion on racing, I enjoy, the mid-pack racing, because when it comes down to it, they're all still competing for spots in the constructors to get more money. The higher you finish, the more money you get. And, that's what makes it exciting and stuff like that. So I think one of the most exciting races that if I were to choose an exciting race of the season, my number one race of the season that I really enjoyed would probably be that outer ring at Bahrain.
I agree with you there.
I think that
was a fun race to watch.
And like I agree with you. Most of the time, the first 3 laps are the most exciting, and then it kind of just everything calms down. But with Bahrain, it seemed like for a while, even if it wasn't a battle up front, it seemed like there was a lot going on.
They were close together.
They were very close together.
Except if you were George Russell and you just started out there and you were gone.
Yeah. So I think. I would say I would give it a 4 for the overall season, but if I were to choose a race that I enjoyed the most, that I thought that was the most exciting out of the whole season, I think I would probably say that Outer Ring of Bahrain was probably the most exciting one.
I'll agree with you on that one, and that's probably the only thing we'll agree with for the rest of the episode. But yeah, so you gave it a 4 for excitement. I'm quite amazed by that.
I'm having to take it down because I don't have my notepad to write it down.
So I'm
in my notes.
I'm taking it down too.
I'm in my notes in my phone typing it out as we go right now. All right. I don't want to forget.
2 more categories to go. Competitiveness and intensity.
Ooh, yeah. See this
or competitiveness. Let's make sure I'm right here. Yep, competitiveness and intensity.
I think I know what you're about to say, so I'll let you go first. So
you want me to start? Okay.
Yeah, I think I know what's about to happen.
You've already lined up the firing squad here, I tell you. 13, Preston. Out of 17 races, 13 front row lockouts for Mercedes. 7 wins for Hamilton. So he lost 10 races. And I must say this, a few years ago, when it was 22 races, Sebastian Vettel with Red Bull won 10 races. So, okay, if you're dominant, you're dominant. I don't care if it's Lewis Hamilton, Sebastian Vettel, Michael Schumacher, Ayrton Senna, anybody in Formula One. Eventually, everybody's going to get tired of it. Mm-hmm. I don't care what the name is, unless you're a big fan of this. But 13 front row lockouts for Mercedes this season. George Russell subbing for the sick Lewis Hamilton in the second Bahrain race, finished 9th because of the stack pit stop situation, which shows the separation between the cars in the field. And we discussed that on the debate last week. Go back and listen to it. It's a really good one. It doesn't matter who you put in that car. Those cars are designed and so technologically sound. I feel that anybody could get in there, case in point, George Russell, and be competitive, which means that the competitiveness was just exposed there, and there is none. Anybody could do this job, I feel. Even if Mercedes weren't in the front, they couldn't be touched. The cars in front couldn't be touched at all. We saw it in Italy. We saw it in Bahrain's second circuit. If you're out front, especially that second circuit, the outer ring, the best racing at times, I've said it before and I'll say it forever until Formula One changes it, was for 9th to 12th. And that's not a podium. It's barely in the points. Mm-hmm. And that is not racing. It's not racing for me unless you're racing for the lead, beating and banging, and we've talked about that. You can't beat and bang in a Formula One car. But it's not racing for me. 9th to 12th being the most intense part of the track. And you've brought it up many times on the show where you said, well, you know, Kimi Räikkönen was racing Fernando Alonso for 12th. It's like, well, that's great. You're not winning the damn race. Overall competitiveness for the 2020 Formula One season, I bet you could guess it.
1.
1.
I was waiting for you to actually rate a category in a 1.
1.
I'm surprised it took this long.
It's surprised it's not a 0. Preston, competitiveness for the 2020 Formula One season.
I'm different than you. 5.
You're so generous.
I look at it.
You're so generous.
I look at the entire field. I mean, it's just there were competitive times, like with you like you said, you like competitiveness where it's up front. And with Formula One, it's not completely like that. I mean, with NASCAR, if you want to be competitive, you have to win. But in Formula One, I mean, yeah, you have to win, but I mean, you got to try and get as many points as you can. And I guess that's why the reason why they only have points in the top 10. So, I mean, that's for another day. I wish they would change the point system a little bit more, where it makes it a little bit closer in the top 10. I think it's unfair that first place gets 25 points and then second gets 18. I mean, Lord, that's a big step up.
That's a gap.
Yeah, that's a gap. When you have a gap of first place getting 25 and 10th place gets 1 point, I mean, that's a bit of a reach, but I don't know. I still enjoy the mid-pack battles because it shows that, it shows that Mercedes and Red Bull are the top tier, and then you have third through like seventh in the constructors who are all usually there in the mid pack most of the time. So I don't know. I enjoy mid pack racing as well too. I think it's important. Any kind of racing is important. Let me just put it that way.
If you're not racing for the win, what's the point?
You just got to get what you can and move on to the next week.
There's no point. There's no point. If you're an actual race car driver, and ask the next one on. If you're not racing for first, then what's the point? I mean, everybody wants to win, yes.
Well, yeah, everybody does want to win.
But if you're racing for 12th and thinking that's a victory coming across the line, hey, we finished 12th.
Or, hey, we got a point. We finished 10th. We got points.
Great.
I mean, some teams get pretty excited for that. They got some points.
Yeah, finishing 10th. Good. Pat yourself. I
guess I'd need to look up what the payout is for every team and where they finish in the constructors because, I mean, they touched on it on the broadcast over the weekend that, the higher you finish, the more money you get. So I guess I need to see what the payout looks like in terms of that because there are a lot of teams that get very excited when they can score just a couple points. Right. So I don't know.
No, I totally understand, man. And if you want to get excited about 10th, go ahead and get excited about 10th. Me, I like winners. And not ones that win all the time, that earn it.
Okay, that's all right.
Because that would make people think I like Lewis Hamilton. All right, intensity. Final category, intensity. We're getting towards the end. We're at the end.
Are you saying you don't like him?
We're not going to go there. We're not doing that. We're not doing that this episode. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. All right. Intensity. You want me to go first?
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's hear what you have to say again. I'd like to hear what you have to say.
Oh, you like to rebuttal, huh? Okay.
Yeah.
Roman Grosjean's crash was the craziest part about 2020. It kind of bookended the start of the year where Ryan Newman crashed. Mm-hmm. The craziness of that, the memory of that. You'll never forget that as long as you're a Formula One or race fan. And we covered that greatly on Formula One Dodged a Bullet. Starts and restarts were also intense. Hey, all 20 cars bunched up right there. Yeah, there's going to be something to happen.
I'm trying to remember what track that was now. That track that they went to for the first time where that happened on a restart. Everybody got bunched up and everybody was running into the back of each other. And I can't remember for the life of me what the track was.
I remember what you're talking about, where that restart both has
bunched
everybody up.
But it wasn't that. It was because the green light. Yeah, I think it was a first time track. What was it called? Hang on. Let me look it up while you keep going. Look it up.
Okay. I felt like throughout the course of the 2020 Formula One season, there was no nail-biting, edge-of-the-seat racing for a finish, for especially first. There was no nail-biting finish, no OMG moment where you saw it and said, that was an awesome race, that was an awesome finish. In my opinion, most races were duds, if you could even call them racing at all. There's no way that you can look at Formula One and say what an awesome season that was, unless you're an announcer paid to promote the sport, unless you're a driver who said, we finished 12th, awesome, or unless you're Lewis Hamilton and said, it was an awesome season, nearly perfect.
It was Magello, by the way.
Magello, thank you. Mm-hmm. Overall intensity for the Formula One 2020 season, a 1.
Wow.
There was really, like I said, the first 3 laps into the starts and restarts were the most intense. And I think when the safety car is deployed to make it more intense, grid them up. Do a standing start again. No more of this stupid rolling start because...
I think the rolling start...
No, the rolling start's pointless in Formula One, not for a restart.
Yeah, I think I can agree with you there. I think the rolling start is... it just doesn't really make too much of sense because the leader can bunch him up, but then he can go whenever he needs to go, and then it just kind of it backs everybody up. I think a standing start would be very interesting.
It would be
for a restart.
If the safety car comes out, grid them up, let them go. Do that for in the red flags, initial start, and restarts.
Yeah.
No more of this rolling start stuff because everybody slows down, bunches up, and then once the safety car is out a distance away, Lewis Hamilton, it's usually Lewis Hamilton, just goes.
Yeah.
And he's by the time they get to start finish line, he's already 1 second ahead, out of DRS range. Pointless. Can't stand it. But all right, intensity. Prove me wrong.
I don't know if I'll be able to prove you
you
wrong
won't.
here.
You won't. Even you, the Formula One guy of the show, cannot prove me wrong. That was literally, you fell asleep during some races, didn't you?
No, actually, I watched the entire race.
Yeah, well,
most of them from flag to flag.
Yeah, good for you. I didn't.
I don't know, but I don't know. I guess I'm still on the high of I really enjoy the sport. I don't know. It's something different for me.
I love the fact that we have a Formula One NASCAR guy and hopefully an IndyCar guy coming. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I mean, I've grown up watching NASCAR. I've loved NASCAR all my life, but I think I just find it fascinating to get into a new motorsport.
Don't blame me, man.
So I'd give intensity I'm gonna rate it higher. Yeah, I'll rate it higher. Probably a 4. I'll give it a 4. 4. That's my final answer. 4. Like the 4 Horsemen.
That is
I'm
horrible.
Gonna go
Horrible reference there.
No, it's not. You're right. Why would I ever go pull the 4 Horsemen down to this kind of level of with the intensity of 4?
And put them in the same category as Formula One. Give me a break.
So, yeah, there were intense moments. Yeah, there weren't intense moments. Restarts, like you said. Yeah, race starts. Bahrain, outer loop, or with Romain Grosjean's incident, which thank God he's alive today and all that. So yeah, I'll give it a 4. I find different moments intense, and like you give different things. So
right, I don't blame you.
It is what it is.
I hear you, man.
Give it a 4.
Give it a 4. All right. My takeaways for the Formula One 2020 season.
Oh boy.
How many times have I said Formula One 2020 season this episode?
A lot.
Yeah, count them up. Formula One needs to review and make safety changes to the tracks. What happened to Romain Grosjean shouldn't happen. They need to remove those guardrails and improve track safety. They dodged a bullet again. And next time they might not be so lucky. I will give it to McLaren. They used to be the laughingstock of the grid. Not even finishing the race. Barely making it onto the grid. And barely finishing. Not even if they did finish. Finishing third in the Constructors' Championship. Awesome to see that team turn around from the likes of Fernando Alonso, who, a stellar driver, could barely even roll those cars off of Q3 and not even get a prayer and a chance and a Hail Mary to get a point, and finishing third in the Constructors' Championship only after a few years of coming back. Racing Point, fourth in the Constructors' Championship with 1 win. It was a very good year for both of those teams, and I hope they could challenge Mercedes next year, because I will switch to McLaren Orange or Racing Point Pink like you do.
Well, Racing Point will be green next year.
Okay, green next year. I'm sorry,
Aston Martin, but
I
think I'm gonna go wherever Sergio Perez goes.
But you know what I mean. Those two teams have come around.
They have.
Red Bull's falling. They're a falling star. Ferrari is already is a lead brick sinking in the ocean, unless they change it around in this offseason. Maybe some new blood will do. Haas. In fact, everybody with a Ferrari engine did horrible this year. Let's just say that. But these two teams, McLaren and Racing Point, are the next big things in Formula One. Those are going to be the teams topping over the Mercedes and the Ferraris and the Red Bulls. And McLaren's going to rise back to the top and the pinnacle of the sport. And Racing Point is going to be right there neck and neck with them. Can't wait for those two to get to the point where they could beat Mercedes week in and week out and race against each other, just like the old days of McLaren and Ferrari. It's going to be fun. But with that being said, the overall rating that I gave this season in Formula One, a 2.2, and you're lucky to get that, Formula One.
I love how you say that every single time. You're lucky to get that.
You're lucky to get that. I call it like I see it, 2.2. I'll remember this year because of COVID. Mm-hmm. And you're lucky, Formula One, that COVID happened or else I'd forget about this year and throw it in the wastebasket with everything else that I think about Formula One in 2020. Preston,
Yes.
your takeaways and overall rating of this year.
Takeaways. I see that. I mean, I agree. Okay, so I'm going to agree with you here. Red Bull is falling, and I think with that, I think they're putting all their resources into just Max Verstappen, and I think it's making Alexander Albon look a little bad.
But that's normal in Formula One.
Yeah, you have a driver one and you driver two.
Lewis Hamilton gets all the resources. Back in the day, it was Michael Schumacher over Rubens Barrichello getting all the resources. In fact, in 2002, a very controversial moment happened where Barrichello was in the lead, and they said, move for Schumacher.
Yeah.
Austria. And he moved for him following team orders, and Schumacher won that race. He repaid the favor like a year or two later in Indianapolis where he let Barrichello win. But give me a break.
Yeah.
In Formula One, it's political. It's going to be the number one driver, whoever brings in the most money, in this case, Lewis Hamilton. And I wouldn't, if Mercedes would have said to Valtteri Bottas, move over, let Lewis Hamilton win that race, I would have flipped it off and never watched it again. It's bogus what they do with that. Not saying that doesn't happen in NASCAR, or it hasn't happened in NASCAR, but I tell you what, if that happens again, especially with Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes, I'm not going to watch it again. But I interrupted you.
No, that's
I apologize.
Okay.
Go ahead.
That's it's nice to hear opinions. So yes. So yeah, with the Red Bull thing, I agree with you too. I think it's cool. I think it's great for McLaren. They did, and McLaren just got that third place because of Sergio Perez and their transmission issues at Abu Dhabi, which was a shame for Perez to go out like that.
Yeah, but I mean, they had a great turnaround in the year.
Yeah.
Racing Point and McLaren showed up.
Yeah, they did, and
they filled up the vacuum void that Ferrari left.
Yes, I think now looking forward to next year with Racing Point, I mean, all they're doing is just changing brand names. They're going to Aston Martin. Will they continue to perform? I hope so, because that team has come a long way. They formerly Sahara Force India, excuse me. I mean, that team's really been coming. That team has done, I think, I heard that team does well, has been doing well for years with not having as many resources as most teams do. So good for them. Now with them having Sebastian Vettel in the car next year instead of Perez and still having Lance Stroll, I'm not really too sold on Lance Stroll just yet. I don't know really about him too. I mean, he does well. He's there. But I don't know if he's got the racing he's kind of one of those people that, I feel like he's up there, but it's because of the car. Sergio Perez.
Put him in a Mercedes and see how he does.
I would love to see what he would look like in a Mercedes. I'm not, like I said, I'm not bagging him. I'm not completely sold on Lance Stroll just yet. I think Sergio Perez is a great wheelman. I hope that he finds a spot next year. He claims that he has something lined up for 2022, but that would be great if he finds something for next year as well. Renault didn't look too bad this year either. With Fernando Alonso coming in next year, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Esteban Ocon staying. Ricciardo's going to McLaren, I think.
Yep.
And Sainz is going over to Ferrari, which, good luck, buddy.
Ferrari is in a real rebuilding state right now.
I hope they can turn it around.
What happened with Ferrari this year is unacceptable for the Tifosi. Is that what they're called, Tifosi?
Sebastian Vettel had told Charles Leclerc that he said Leclerc was probably one of the most talented drivers he's seen in most of his career, and he told him not to waste. Said something about not to waste his time or something like that, and people took that as like, oh man, he's telling Leclerc don't stay at Ferrari for too long.
Let's understand Sebastian Vettel's point. 4-time world champion in a class act with Red Bull. Red Bull started struggling when Mercedes started finding their niche. Ferrari said, we're going to sign the hottest driver, free agent right now, which is Sebastian Vettel. Everybody said, this is Ferrari's comeback. Mm-hmm. This is Ferrari's next generation Michael Schumacher. He's going to put the wind in the sails of the Ferrari team. Scuderia Ferrari is going to rise back to the top with the help of Sebastian Vettel. And for the first 2 years, it looked like he was. Until he started beating himself. What's that street circuit with the castle in it? You know what I'm talking about.
Azerbaijan.
Baku. Thank you. Oh, Baku. I could have just said Baku. Where there was an incident. He beat himself on that race. I forget what year. I think it was 2015, 2014. Where Lewis Hamilton brake checked him. He went up and in a sense, door slammed Hamilton. Cost him 25 points. Or whatever amount it was. It cost him points.
Mm-hmm.
Finished second in the championship that year. Could that rate? And that race from there was the downfall of Sebastian Vettel and Ferrari. And unfortunately, me as a big Ferrari guy, seen Michael Schumacher win the Indianapolis Grand Prix in 2004. I've seen the Ferraris win. I've seen them at their pinnacle. I've seen and heard the V12 coming by me at 220 miles an hour. An awesome feeling. No more. Those days are gone, Ferrari. Unless they can fix it, which finishing sixth in the Constructors' Championship is not going to help their cause. But Ferrari-powered engines, Scuderia Ferrari, Haas, and who does Kimi Räikkönen race for?
Alfa Romeo.
Alfa Romeo, Ferrari engines, subpar all year. Sometimes not even making it out of Q1.
Mm-hmm. That's,
unacceptable if you're a Ferrari fan. If you like the prance and pony of Ferraris, and I love Ferraris, you're looking at that like we better get off and follow the rats off the sinking ship.
Yeah, we're becoming the laughing stock almost.
You're not becoming. You are the laughing stock. Unless you're in Italy where everybody's wearing red, nobody else is wearing red. Everybody's wearing Max Verstappen orange. Everybody's wearing Lewis Hamilton silver. Everybody's now probably going to switch over to green and Sergio Perez if he stays with the team. The Ferraris are dying, and they need to fix it. And I took away your season pickup.
It's good.
Season wrap up, but I tell you what,
I like it.
For Ferrari, and I'm not. And I tell you, and again, disclaimer: I'm not the Formula One guy, but based on what I've seen over the years with Ferrari, since 2004, they've stalled, and I don't know why. I couldn't explain to tell you why. They're not keeping up with the regulations. They're not keeping up with the technology. They're not hiring the best engineers. But Ferrari needs to do something. It's got to happen by 2021 Australia. If it is Australia, I hope so.
Boy, don't we all.
Or else they're going to be the new Williams. And that's my prediction for 2021 if Ferrari does not get their act right.
Okay. All right. Good. I like that.
But continue on with your...
I don't really have too much to say. I also will agree with you that they need to look at safety regulations as well. I mean, all tracks are, I guess, different in a sense, but I mean, that whole...
The monocoque did its job. The car passed the safety test. The tracks didn't.
Well, you have a lot of those, that fencing at a lot of tracks.
It's time to upgrade.
I mean, Monaco has that whole circuit.
Monaco kind of needs that, and you're not really running the top. Well,
no,
you're running fast at Monaco, but not to the point where. But still, this is their chance to fix it, and if they want, and I missed Monaco this year, really did. And if Formula One wants those tracks on the circuit, or those tracks want to be on the Formula One circuit and FIA approved, if I was the FIA, take out the guardrails. It's going to be expensive.
It's going to be very expensive.
But then the race will come back in 2021, hopefully with fans. Grandstands will be full. Make that money back in the day just based on beer sales.
Hopefully.
But
that guardrail is used at a lot of tracks.
No excuses anymore. Not after Bahrain.
I think Coda uses that too.
No excuses. No excuses after Bahrain.
I guess we just have to wait and see what they do.
No, there is no have to wait and see on this one, Preston.
Well, I
have to put my foot down.
I don't think the FIA is going to do a whole lot.
Well, then
I think
shame on them. If they lose a driver next year because somebody's stuck in the guardrail and on fire,
then
we won't even do a tribute episode. We'll just say showed you so, and I'll post it all over social media why Formula One is wrong, and I'll replay these episodes.
It's kind of reminded me of that. We talked about it before, the documentary on YouTube.
3 before February.
Yeah, it's going to take a couple of times before they finally figure it out.
It's going to take a death of a driver. It's going to take the death. No, you know what? We're not even going to.
No.
What's it called? Hypothesize or
put out
whatever and put out there. I'm not going to say that, but it's going to take a death for change to happen. It always does, unfortunately, but I hope not.
Yeah. So other than that, I think. And George Russell will have to hang in there for another year before he gets promoted somewhere else, which we saw that putting him in a Mercedes, he looked really good. So
looked really good.
It's just one of those things. Hopefully 2021 comes back. We'll be in full force, and we'll get all 22 races on the schedule, and then we'll head off to 2022 and the Concord Agreement. Maybe things might change then. So
doubt it.
It's just one of those things we kind of have to wait. Since
overall season rating, Preston,
4.6 is what it came out to.
Wow, that's way higher than mine, but okay.
That's
4.6. It's still. And here's
for
the
the
thing.
Formula One guy. I think I kind of rated it a little low, but
very low, because here's the thing: out of 10, you rated it below average, or below the middle. That's crazy.
There were times in there where I was not happy about it.
Your NASCAR season rating was higher than your Formula One rating, and that's coming from the Formula One guy.
Two different sports, but hey,
just saying,
it is what it is.
It is what it is, man. But
still love Formula One.
Yeah, I like watching it, man. And hopefully it'll get better throughout the course of the next couple of years. But that was our Formula One year in review, and now we're going to go ahead and take a break and hear a Teespring ad from us. This is In the Marbles, and we'll be right back after these messages from the Unhinged Sports Network and ourselves.
Hey race fans, I'm Preston from In the Marbles. Like what you just watched, be sure to hit the subscribe button below, and if you're looking for more content, you can find some videos right here to the left of me.